In America's northernmost town, the sun has just set for the last time this year. On November 18th, 2025, the last rays of sunlight dipped below the horizon in Utqiagvik, Alaska. For the next 64 days or so, its roughly 4,700 residents will live in a world of perpetual twilight, a natural phenomenon they've witnessed their entire lives. The Earth's axial tilt plunges this community, located deep within the Arctic Circle, into a prolonged polar night, an annual rhythm of life at the top of the world. The sun won't breach the horizon again until January 22nd, 2026. This is a known, predictable cycle. It is a time for rest, for tradition, and for watching the aurora borealis dance in the long darkness. But what if, this year, the predictable cycle was broken? In our story, as the last rays of sunlight vanished, something new appeared in the darkness, and it was just the beginning. What if the coming darkness wasn't empty? As the sun disappeared, imagine residents reporting a sound, a faint, eerie, metallic hum that seemed to emerge from the frozen tundra itself, a sound no one could identify. For the first time, the familiar polar night felt different. It felt like something was listening. Before we dive into the strange events that follow in our story, it's important to understand the setting. Utqiagvik, Alaska, is a real place of beautiful extremes. It's a community built on resilience, a land where the Inupiaq people have thrived for thousands of years, their culture deeply intertwined with the cycles of light and dark. Life is governed by the sun, or the lack of it. In summer, they experience the midnight sun, where for about 84 straight days, daylight is constant. Then comes winter. The polar night is not complete blackness. Each day, a few hours of civil twilight provide a dim, bluish glow as the sun remains just below the horizon, painting the snow-covered landscape in ethereal shades of blue and pink. This annual event is a scientific certainty, a consequence of celestial mechanics as our planet makes its journey around the sun. The northern hemisphere tilts away, and lands above the Arctic Circle are shrouded from direct sunlight. It's a phenomenon shared with other Arctic communities in places like Norway and Russia. It drives temperatures far below freezing and plays a role in the formation of the massive weather pattern known as the polar vortex. Life continues. Schools and businesses operate, their interiors brightly lit against the deep blue of the midday twilight. The community is uniquely adapted, their lives a testament to humanity's ability to find balance in the harshest of environments. This is where our story pivots from reality. In this telling, that balance was disturbed. The initial reports of the strange sound on November 18th were isolated, shared on local social media groups, and then mostly dismissed. People attributed it to the wind, to machinery, or simply to the tricks the mind plays in the encroaching dark. But as the first full sunless week passed, the reports didn't stop. They grew. The sound was becoming a low, persistent hum, a vibration that some claimed they could feel in their bones. It was a single, strange data point in a world that was supposed to be predictable, and it was no longer alone. As the darkness deepened in our fictional Alaska, something else began to stir across America. The hum in Utqiagvik was just the opening note. In our narrative, the first anomaly to gain national attention didn't happen in the dark of Alaska, but in the skies over the American heartland. In the final days of November, reports began to surface from rural Nebraska and Kansas. Farmers and small-town residents described seeing massive flocks of starlings hundreds of thousands of them, moving in ways that defied explanation. These weren't the familiar, flowing murmurations that paint the dusk sky. Witnesses described vast, coordinated swarms moving with impossible precision, forming perfect geometric shapes, squares, triangles, and concentric circles that held their form for minutes at a time before abruptly dissolving. News stations were flooded with cell phone videos. The footage was unsettling. The birds moved as a single entity, a dark living cloud shifting with unnatural intelligence. Ornithologists were baffled, suggesting stresses or unknown environmental factors, but admitting that such highly structured, geometric flocking patterns had never been documented. While it's true that human presence alters animal behavior, this was something else entirely. It wasn't just a shift in routine, it was a shift in the perceived laws of nature. Then, just as abruptly as they appeared, the swarms vanished. But they were immediately followed by the second anomaly, the lights. From the deserts of Arizona to the forests of the Pacific Northwest, the night sky began to play host to a silent, impossible light show. These were not meteors, nor were they satellites like Starlink. These were different. In multiple, unrelated locations, people reported seeing vast, stationary grids of light appearing high in the atmosphere. They would pulse in unison, shifting through a spectrum of cold blues and greens before vanishing without a trace. In one widely circulated video from a remote part of Idaho, a perfect circle of light, miles in diameter, simply blinked into existence, hung silently in the sky for over an hour, and then disappeared as if a switch had been flipped. Astronomers had few immediate answers. They spoke of rare atmospheric phenomena, but admitted these explanations didn't quite fit. These lights were too structured, too geometric, too silent. And as data was being collected, a terrifying connection was made. The locations of the strange geometric lights in the sky almost perfectly mirrored the flight paths of the coordinated bird swarms from the week before. The pattern was no longer a coincidence. It was a coordinated sequence of events. And that's when the third anomaly went global. The hum. The low metallic sound, first reported in Utqiagvik, was now being heard worldwide. From Bristol, England, to Taos, New Mexico, reports of a persistent, low-frequency hum flooded the internet. While a phenomenon known as the hum has been sporadically documented for decades in specific locations, this was different. In our story, it was louder, more widespread. People who had never heard it before were now being plagued by the incessant, droning sound that seemed to have no source. It was as if someone had turned up the volume on the entire planet. Back in Alaska, the darkness deepened. The winter solstice was approaching. The local hum that started it all was now part of a global chorus. But there, in the fragile light at the top of the world, a fourth anomaly was emerging. On the shores of the Arctic Ocean, outside Utqiagvik, the sea ice began to turn red. Not from algae, but from the bodies of millions upon millions of Arctic cod beached in a mass mortality event of a scale never before seen. The roaring of the sea, once a familiar sound, now carried a new and terrifying meaning. Individually, within our fictional world, these events could be explained away. Coordinated bird swarms as a new behavioral pattern, impossible lights as a misunderstood plasma event, the global hum as an amplification of a natural phenomenon. But happening together, in this sequence, they formed a disturbing pattern, a pattern that seemed to build, from the sky to the earth to the sea. This pattern is what leads the characters in our story to look away from science and toward ancient texts and prophecies. Passages like Luke 21, verse 25, which states, "And there will be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring." Or Joel 2 verse 30, which reads, "And I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke." These are words that have echoed for millennia, words that many in this unfolding drama now feel are becoming a literal, observable reality. The prophecies speak of strange signs in the sky, of the roaring of the seas. People start asking, are the geometric swarms and lights not the wonders in the heavens we were warned about? Is the mass beaching of fish turning the sea red not a terrifying fulfillment of a prophecy about the sea and the waves roaring? These aren't just questions from the fringes anymore. As news reports fail to provide rational explanations, more people are looking at these events as a prophetic timeline snapping into place. The narrative that began with the simple, natural setting of the sun in a remote Alaskan town has now spiraled into a global mystery. The sequence is what makes it so chilling. First, the sound, a warning. Then, the swarms, a sign in the air. Then the lights, a sign from the heavens. Then the seas, a sign from the deep. And then came the climax of our story. On the night of December 21st, the winter solstice, the darkest day of the polar night, in Utqiagvik, it happened. The pervasive hum suddenly stopped. In the profound, shocking silence that followed, the sky over the town lit up, not with the dancing greens of the aurora, but with a single, silent, instantaneous flash of brilliant white light. It was so bright that for a split second, the perpetual twilight was banished. The entire snow-covered landscape was illuminated as if by a midday sun. There was no sound, just pure, silent, blinding light. And then, as quickly as it came, it was gone. Darkness returned, but the silence remained. The hum was gone. In its place, there was only the wind and a world holding its breath, waiting for what comes next. The sun set in Utqiagvik on November 18th, beginning a 64-day polar night, just as it always does. But in this fictional tale, the darkness that followed was anything but ordinary. It began with an unidentifiable sound and escalated into a global narrative of impossible swarms, heavenly lights, and a terrifying chorus of unexplained sounds. The final silent flash of light over America's northernmost town has left more questions than answers. Was it the culmination of the strange events, or just another step in a sequence we do not yet understand? The worldwide hum has ceased, but the silence feels more ominous than the noise it replaced. We are left to grapple with the implications of the story. Were these simply a string of incredible, unrelated coincidences? Or were the characters right to see a pattern, a message in the escalating events? As the residents of Utqiagvik wait for a sun that is still weeks away, we are all left to wonder what might happen in a world where the predictable suddenly becomes unknown. This was a fictional scenario built on a very real and fascinating place. What do you think happens next in the story? What was the source of the hum, the lights, and the final flash? Share your theories for this fictional universe in the comments below. Let's see where the story could go from here.
This book is your beginner's guide to understanding Scripture. Find peace, build relationships, and discover purpose in today's world. Ready to decode the Bible? Find Bible Decoded available on Amazon now.
If this content blesses you and you'd like to support our mission, You can buy me a coffee or give a super thanks. Every contribution helps us create more content to inspire and uplift others. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on my future videos.